Hello and welcome to my art journey. My name's Ryan and I've just made another video. This is an update, I guess. I was drawing a lot on my Wacom and posting a lot of videos, and then I kind of went silent. Been fairly busy at work, but I thought I would show some of the drawings that I've done recently. Now I purchased some art supplies. As you can probably tell, my desk is covered in all sorts of art stuff, pencils and pens and all that stuff. Anyway, so I started drawing on paper a little bit. I actually found that I quite enjoyed drawing on paper. So here are a couple of the drawings that I did. I started inking with like a really thick black texture, and it just didn't look so great. So I got some ink, and then again, it sort of still didn't look so great. I was just mucking around, really doing these, and some nice sort of thick paper. And then I did these ones here. Again, this is just pencil, and I was coloring these with colored pencils, but not the Prismacolors. I got some Prismacolors because I'd been reading online that they were really good, but I was coloring those with these. These are the Creative PL 24 set artist collection. I got these from Aldi in Australia. They were okay. They're not the greatest like pencils. They didn't lay down a very nice even color, but they were $3, so it worked pretty well for the price. Anyway, so I was having a good time coloring those. So I just left crap all over my desk. I was having a good time coloring with those. I did all of these with those pencils, but as you can see, they don't leave a very nice sort of surface quality. Then again, I'm not a great artist yet, so it might just be my fault. Anyway, these were done, oh geez, I can't remember, within the last week or two. And then I did some more, and these were done with the Prismacolors. So after I played around with the colored pencils, I was like, hey, I quite like drawing with the pencils. I think I might get myself some nice pencils. So I bought the Prismacolor, I can't remember which set I bought, the Prismacolor 72 set. And yeah, they have really nice colors, but the actual pencils themselves are like terrible. The wood that they use, surprisingly for how much they cost, is extremely crap. Really crappy wood. It looks like you're gonna get a splinter just using it. So yeah, not the greatest quality on the actual pencil itself, but with that said, the color that comes out of them is extremely nice. It's very strong. Again, I'm still not great at drawing. I'm getting there, but I did this one and then that one there. These are not original characters, by the way. I'm just going from like references online. And then I was like, hey, I feel like I might do some inking, so I bought myself a relatively cheap inking pen, G-pen, I think they called in Japan. I don't know what they called over here, with some nibs and just some India ink. It takes a long time to dry. I'll leave it at that. But once it's dried, you can erase over it, and it comes out pretty good looking. So that was one. There's nothing on the back of that one. Then over here again, I was just playing around. I was drawing, I think this is 2S from Nia. And if you sort of cut off her bottom half, this looks really good. But then she's got like these really tiny waist and legs, and it just didn't end up looking good as a whole. But if you get rid of all of that, it actually doesn't look too bad. So pretty happy with how that came out. Still struggling with faces. These faces up here were okay. I'll get into faces in a little bit more detail later. And then over here I was just experimenting, just I don't know, lines and colored pencils, and I was trying to blend the colored pencils using just a little tub of isopropyl alcohol. So I put on a Q-tip and I smudged it around, and alright, I'm back, sorry about that. So yeah, I put some on a Q-tip and I blended it over here, and it didn't turn out great. Partially I think because this paper is so thin, it just ruined the paper. But anyway, I was playing with this picture, did some drawing. I tried some gouache, just some sort of white artist's gouache or whatever you want to, however you pronounce that. I didn't have a paintbrush thin enough to do this, and it kind of just lumped on there. So yeah, we'll get some more experience with that later. I don't think there's anything on the back of this one. Then over here, I was just, I started off with this little sort of manga face thing, and then I did this face here, and I started trying to color it with the Prismacolors, and it got a little bit like, yeah, it doesn't look like skin, to be honest. But the face actually doesn't look too bad. I was following from a book called Dynamic Anatomy, which I will grab and show you. This big thick one here by Bern Hogarth, and a lot of good stuff in this book. So I will certainly probably get a review of this up later once I'm a little bit better at drawing. So there's that. Then from that book I was sort of copying this, and then I decided to ink it, and then I spilled the ink on there, so I took a tissue and you see what happened. But other than that, it was actually looking really good. And yeah, again, the paper's too thin, so the ink's just bleeding through. Then more adventures with that book, Dynamic Anatomy, so just sort of doing some muscle formations in the back of this guy's arm. Proportionally, it's not right. The guy's arm looks massive and his back doesn't look so massive. So this one is another one of those drawings. It's just following along with that Dynamic Anatomy book. I was quite happy with the way this came out. The face looks a little bit weird, like the angle is a bit wrong. But that's, I mean, I'm just trying to identify what is weird about my drawings while I draw, so that next time I can sort of correct it and hopefully get a better understanding of how all of these muscles and tendons and fibers and shapes link together to create this head. So anyway, it's another one from the, what's it called again? Dynamic Anatomy book. Great book, by the way. I will probably do some sort of review on it once I've completed everything. Again, more figures from that book. This is a lady on the side. It looked a bit weird, like just that. So I added a head, thinking that maybe the head would give the body like a bit more perspective. So when you look at it, if you look at that, it just looks like a bunch of shaded like shapes. It doesn't look like anything, but with the head there, it at least has that sort of look of a body now. So I put the head there. I was like, hey, okay, why not? It looks pretty good. I'm happy with that one. Like the back maybe a bit weird, but other than that, fairly happy with that. And again, this one here, I did the same thing. The illustration in the book is just this, but that just looks like a random set of blobs with shading. So I put the head on there, and I put the shoulder and where I thought the arm would be. And then after I was drawing it, I realized the shoulder wasn't actually this part here, this being the right side of the back, this being the sort of left side of the back, and this being the sort of torso rotated around, you know, that axis. So the arm technically should be sort of like here where my finger is, and so with the arm up here where I've put it, it kind of looks like all these back muscles are the arm, which looks weird. But again, put the head on there to sort of I guess identify the shape of this object. And again, I think this time with the head on there, it looks a bit more like a torso, but without the head, it doesn't look right at all. And I think the head and the arm are in the wrong position anyway, so we'll definitely have to work on that. And then over here, I was just playing with some blending. I blended right through the paper. I was very proud of that. Not really, but basically, I did this with, I don't know what these are called. Just like blending stick. Basically, it's like a tube of cardboard, and you just sort of push down and blend. They said they were made for pastels when I was at the art store. I asked if they work with pencil. They said, yeah, sorta, kinda, not really. So I bought them anyway. They were cheap, and I gave it a try. It didn't work that great, so I just sprayed the end of it with the alcohol, which is a solvent, and I guess that solvent dissolves or solves or whatever solvent does the pigment in the colors, and that really did blend quite nicely. But if you go too hard on it because the paper's wet, you will just like scrape right through the paper, and then it doesn't work, obviously. So if you're using those with alcohol, don't go too hard. This one, another picture from the Dynamic Anatomy book. This is of a man's back. I posted this on Twitter, and someone mentioned that I forgot to draw the like shoulder blade area on the right arm, which yeah, I did forget to draw like a shoulder somewhere up here. I'm not sure if I forgot it on the left arm either, but this one has this sort of shape going down here. I don't know what these are called. I'm not an anatomy expert or anything like that, but this is missing here. there's this sort of muscle here, which I don't see on this one. And you've got this, I was copying from the book, but I think I did make a few mistakes. But overall, if you sort of just took a glance at this, I'd be pretty happy with that drawing. And then he drew Dark Magician Girl from Yu-Gi-Oh! Now this one, if you stand back and look at this, that's a really good Dark Magician Girl. It's only when you get up close you start to notice something's just not quite right. I'm really happy with the way this came out. Again, not an original character, not even an original pose. This was just something that came up in Google. I got some shmoo on my hands there. I think that's just paper and eraser dust from doing that. This is just something that came up when I searched for manga girl on Google Images. That came up, I downloaded it, I tried to draw it. It looks okay. It doesn't look that bad. I'm pretty happy with it. Again, like I say, if you stand back and look at that from a distance, thumbs up. It looks really good. But when you start to get in close, you start to notice, you know, the inconsistencies in my coloring here. Even the mouth looks really weird. Like, I can't get any closer on that, you know. It just doesn't look right. But again, as a whole, I'm quite happy with the way that it came out. Now, before I colored this, I did it in pencil, obviously. Now my camera is also falling off of the selfie stick that I'm using to hold it. I did a version of this, obviously in pencil, before I inked it. And I'm just going to unlock my phone so I can show you. But the pencil sketch actually ended up looking a lot better. And I assume that is because right now my inking technique is just not there. So that's the pencil sketch. I was much happier with the look of the pencil sketch. Once I translated from, you know, sketch to inking, that's when it started to go a little bit weird again. But overall, I'm happy with the result. The colors look right. This was done using the Prismacolor pencils. No blending tool on this one here. I just took the pencils and just smushed it in really hard to sort of burnish the paper and knock off that, I think they call it a tooth, the grit of the paper basically, so you don't get these like white dots on here. I don't know the proper terminology. Not really an artist just yet, but getting there. Very happy with the progress so far. And this, my dear friends and subscribers, is going to be the next piece of art. It is yet to be discovered. So I don't know what that's going to be yet, but we'll definitely continue on with this art journey. I'm having a great time doing all of these. As a matter of fact, I'm having a great time doing it on paper. I really do like the Wacom, but there's something weird about drawing on it. It's just not the same as drawing on paper. This paper stuff, it does exactly what you wanted. Like 0 milliseconds latency, 60 FPS, 4K, 100 billion resolution. I don't know. It's just, it actually just feels a little different. That's not to say that I don't like drawing on the Wacom and the Cintiq. I really do enjoy drawing on that. And as a matter of fact, I will most likely go from pencil sketches in the future to scans to colors on the Wacom. But for now, while I've got my books out in front of me, you know, I've got this dynamic anatomy book. I've got that here on my desk. I've got it open. I've got a piece of paper in front of me. It's really hard to study from a book in front of a sort of tablet-like screen. So, boop. Sorry about that. My camera just fell upside down. So in conclusion, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I will probably have some reviews coming out for Prismacolor pencils once I learn how to use them. You know, these sort of things, some of this art supplies, definitely the books. I've got a lot of books sort of just piling up that I'm reading through. So we'll definitely have a review coming out for that eventually. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. That's my dog. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye for now.